Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for another virtual town hall. Today is Wednesday, October the 21st. We got several updates, and we'll have important updates from a message from Chief, and obviously, as always, they're important, from Chief Carlson, Chief Altman, and Brian Hausch. So I want to start off with our numbers. As of today, the numbers in Ohio are at 188,005 cases. In the county, we're at 2,248 cases. And in the village, we have seen an uptick where we are now at 3 cases. And this is sad to report because over the last 2-3 weeks, we've been excited about seeing our numbers trending down, at least here in the village. And then suddenly we have these 3 cases. So that's in line with what we're seeing in the rest of the county, which is why we are at a level 3 public health emergency. So we're in that red zone, which is very significant because if this was 5 months ago, we would be shutting down. And many folks have asked me, are we heading in that direction? Are we shutting down? And well, currently I haven't heard any word from the state that we're shutting down, but our numbers are showing a trend that we may be heading in that direction. So if we don't take control of what we've got going on, we may very well be heading in that direction. And probably more importantly, means more people are going to get sick and more people are going to die. So it's important that we try to do all that we can to flatten the curve again and help reduce the numbers. So please continue to do what you're doing. I know that our community is hearing the same message, and week after week, we say take all the precautionary actions, wear your masks, physically distance, wash your hands, and our folks are doing it, and our community are very concerned about others in the village that are walking around without their mask. And so let's do everything that we can to keep ourselves safe and everyone around us safe, because there's no insight to this pandemic. It's just clearly the numbers are going up and we got to keep at it. Remember, back in March, we said we got to be prepared for the marathon that's ahead of us. This was not a sprint. It was not something that we were going to manage to control in 30 days or 60 days. We knew it was going to be a long time, and it's looking like it's a long time. We're tired. Exhausted, but we got to keep at it. And that's the only way we're going to get ahead of it. So, or be able to contain it and come through all of this together. So moving on to my messaging, you might have heard that our youth center, learning center has opened. It's been open for going on over 2 weeks. And Florence and Sam are doing a great job at creating a safe space for our school children here in the building. Kids are learning. I see happy children downstairs every morning, and they're learning. They're in a safe space. We're providing snacks and other nutritious meals and snacks. So I'm excited that I'm proud and grateful that we are able to do this. And I particularly raise it tonight because we're in a level 3 public health emergency, and many may wonder, why are we doing these kinds of activities in our youth center? And we'll feel confident that we can do this safely because our team is following all the safety precautions, and so are the participants. So unless there's any change to that, we will continue to provide this essential services to our school children and the parents that benefit by having their kids here. So we'll continue to do that. We've also announced that we will be launching our public Wi-Fi program in the downtown area. This was initially scheduled for October 28th. We are very eager to get that program launched. We did run into a hiccup today when we received an update on the shipping of some of the equipment that we need to launch this. There are some items that seem their delay, and we may not have everything in place for that kickoff. So Philip and I and Thor and others that are part of the team, we're working diligently to make sure we get that equipment early on or in time to be able to turn on the lights to the public Wi-Fi system at the end of the month. So expect to hear more from us in the coming days as we are troubleshooting that shipping delay, and we hope to get this program up and running by the end of the month. All right, so now we'll pass the floor over to Chief Altman. Chief, what place are you joining us from today?
Well, Mr. Manager, I'm coming to you tonight live from beautiful, bless someone, live from beautiful Haddonfield, Illinois. I am here this evening with Jamie Lee Curtis, William Shatner, a container of Activia yogurt, Kid Rock for some bizarre reason, and of course, WYSO General Manager Luke Dennis, who has been unable to join me for weeks because he's been on a top secret NPR mission to the southern tip of Argentina. So, got a couple things to discuss with you people tonight, you people being the good citizens of Yellow Springs and Miami Township, possibly even Clifton. First off, who remembers the old show Hill Street Blues? Yep, I can hear a chorus of people saying they do. Remember Sergeant Esterhaus used to always say, let's be careful out there. So let's be careful out there. According to the Ohio State Patrol, October, November, and December are the worst time in the state for deer strikes. And I'm talking about your car hitting a deer, not the deer going on a labor stoppage. That does happen too, but that's usually in the spring. So we want you to be careful while you're driving. Apparently, the deer, it's mating season, they get excited and they run out into the road, and 44% of Ohio's deer strikes happen in these 3 months. So please be careful, particularly around dusk and dawn, so that you don't have to meet a state trooper and a deer in an inopportune way. So earlier, Josue was talking about our numbers. And actually, according to the hottest list right off the press, we actually are now at 4 cases in the limits of the village of Yellow Springs. That 4 includes 1 at Antioch College. We also have 2 additional in the township, so we're up at 6 total in the 45387 area code, zip code, sorry. So what all does this mean? Well, it means exactly what people like Dr. Fauci and others have been telling us about. There is another wave of the coronavirus coming. Cold weather drives us inside, and indoors is where we can spread the virus more. So Ohio had a pretty bad milestone today when it was reported that we added 2,366 cases, new cases in the last 24 hours, and that's a record for the state. And it's not a good record. But we've also been setting new records every day for the last 5 days, so this isn't a good thing. Here in Greene County, our cases have gone up as well. In West Central Ohio, Greene County now accounts for 11% of the total cases, which is a change. We were always number 4, lagging behind Miami County. We've now surpassed them. That translates into about 34 new cases per day within Greene County on a rolling average over the weeks. And we're seeing a pretty high infection rate, which is why we went up to red, level 3. What's very concerning from a healthcare standpoint is that each person who's infected is then infecting an average of 1.13 people. That is not a sustainable number, and we've got to bring that down. Otherwise, we're going to look at the possibility of overwhelming our healthcare system. But what's driving this? What's causing all this problem here in Greene County? And in Greene County, luckily, this is not community spread. If we were in a full-blown level 3 red alert, Homeland Security status, DEFCON 9 thing, and this was all due to community spread, then certainly I think you'd hear people talking about additional lockdown measures and that type of thing. But at this point, what public health in Greene County is seeing are pretty much 2 driving factors. One is congregate settings, people who live together. We're talking about nursing homes, and we're talking about colleges and universities. They've seen a spike in cases that adds on from Wright State University, especially off-campus housing, from Cedarville University as well. So those 2 plus nursing homes are driving a lot of our numbers. On a kind of an offshoot of that, they're also seeing an increase in cases from people who are healthcare workers who have children in schools and are bringing it home that way. So it's not community spread, so we don't need to go into full-blown panic yet. There have been people talking about we need to do lockdown again and shut down downtown, and this is certainly not called for from a public health standpoint. What we do need to do, and this is each and every one of us, is continue the measures that we've been taking, primarily wearing a mask. We've said it over and over and over again. Dr. Fauci has said it. The World Health Organization has said it. Deborah Birx has said it. The president hasn't, but you know what? Don't listen to him. Wear your mask. Maintain social or physical distance from each other, 6 feet apart minimum. That's 2 meters for you metric people. 6 feet. Wash or sanitize your hands as frequently as possible, and the hand sanitizer should be alcohol-based. Do that. Cover your coughs. Stay home. In a red alert situation, if you don't have to go out, don't go out, particularly if you're in a vulnerable group. And I know out there someone's thinking, well, there's so many people who are vulnerable groups. Okay, there are. Stay home. We'll get through this. Stay away from large crowd areas. There shouldn't be going on anyway, but stay away from those. The state is not currently looking at any additional lockdowns. But if anything, Governor DeWine has shown us that he'll warn us, and then suddenly it's going to happen. So follow the rules, model proper behavior, make sure everyone's doing it, and stick away. As we close in on Halloween, it's tempting to go to Halloween parties at Cousin Betty's house, but we need to not do that. I know it's been a long slog for us. It's going to be probably even longer. We heard today in a conference call, we're not looking at a vaccine anytime soon, unfortunately. 2 of the trials have been suspended. The one that's still ongoing, they're looking at maybe January for a release. We'll see. So, we need to continue doing what we've been doing, try and stay healthy as best as possible, and we'll get through this together. Now, that was all down. Why am I here in Haddonfield, Illinois? Who out there knows who the famous resident of Haddonfield, Illinois is? Yes, it's Michael Myers. Not Michael Myers from Saturday Night Live, but Michael Myers, the psychopathic killer. So why am I here? Because Halloween's coming up. And I want to remind you that on Saturday, October 31st, actual Halloween from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Miami Township Fire Station, the new one, at 101 East Herman Street, we're going to have a drive-through trick-or-treat. So it's going to be safe. It's going to be compliant with all CDC, World Health Organization, and the North Korean Health Group guidelines so that everyone is safe. I'm going to be there. Brian Hausch is going to be there. I mean, how can you say no to Brian Hausch? I think Josue might even show up. He may even come in. You never know. You never really can tell what that man's going to do. But we want you to bring a carload of children, hopefully your children or ones that you know pretty well. And we'll give you some candy, maybe scare you, who knows. But it'll be a good time. First time we've ever done it, so we're hoping it works well. But it'll be as safe as humanly possible. So join us October 31st. Watch out for deer. And don't panic yet about numbers. We'll tell you when to panic, but it's not yet. So if there's nothing else, I think I'm going to have to throw it back to you, Josue, because I hear some screaming in the background here, and there might be a psychopathic killer on the loose. Right. Good luck.
Chief, I will be there. I will be there. I've got to challenge this narrative out there that I canceled Halloween. I did not cancel Halloween. I got to be there. And I think Johnny's going to be joining me, and he wanted to be a firefighter that day. So maybe we can get together.
We just had a bunch of shirts made up that said Josue canceled Halloween, so I guess I'll have to get those canceled. So.
Right. Thank you, Chief. All right. Chief Carlson.
Thanks, Josue. Good evening, everyone. I've got a few messages tonight. So what I'll do is just read down the list. And then at the end, if possible, Josue, if you can add to the screen the ordinance language that I had sent you. But for starters, everyone, a few reminders. Remember, lock your vehicles when they're unattended. At any time, we advise to keep valuables out of plain view. Valuables, things that include wallets, purses, electronics, weapons, keys, garage door openers, things like that. Keep them out of plain view. Throughout the county, I'm sure you've heard, local communities we've all suffered from vehicles being entered or attempting to being entered throughout the night. So I want to let everyone know that two of the perpetrators have been caught, and we're very lucky that no one was harmed. We had one vehicle that was stolen, and we were able to solve that particular case. But I want to inform everyone that I have instructed your peace officers to continue and step up traffic patrol in the dark hours. So if people are being pulled over, remember our officers are always courteous, and we will give the reason for the stop. But keep in mind that we have objectives that are trying to keep the community safe as well. Those things have grown because of the pandemic, displacement of folks. We're seeing a little bit of an increase in substance abuse. So just kind of be on the lookout. Keep your car doors locked. Keep your porch lights on. That helps us tremendously as well. I do want to tell you that I'm very proud. Some of the team were able to do a traffic stop a few weeks ago. They seized weapons, major drugs, and keeping the community safe. Once again, we do have a U.S. highway that cuts right through the middle of town, so keep that in mind as well. I spoke with Brian Hausch and Josue this morning, and we talked about getting more information out about what the officers are doing, how we're handling mask wearing, and trying to keep people safe from that regard. A couple things that we talked about and that we're going to put out. This is kind of preliminary, so bear with me. But we will be increasing our hourly downtown patrols. That's on foot and drive-by. And of course, unless we have an emergency that prohibits that at the time. Officers have always and will always be carrying masks with them, several on their person. We have masks in the vehicles, as well as supplies that we've been providing to folks that are in need. The warning and citation process. We're going to put a little thing up on the screen here right in a moment, but if people aren't distancing, the officer will engage and we will check back. And if we exhibit that behavior a second time, we will be stepping up our activity. I'll talk about that in a minute, but there are many challenges to this, and I need everyone to understand this. People can refuse to give identification. If that happens, that does escalate the situation. So please keep that in mind when speaking with officers and you're frustrated about seeing folks without masks on. We're doing the best that we can in that regard and trying to balance, if you will, between the village guidelines of policing and public safety. And I'm sure you can understand that. The other impact that's been difficult on folks is the negative impact that the justice system can have on the disparate population. And for what we're seeing, these are truly the majority of those folks that are in violation of the public safety health protocols and the Yellow Springs mask ordinance. So keep that in mind as well. We will be doing spot checks more than often than we have been with businesses. And we may be looking at potential situations, putting the onus, if you will, on business owners. The village, all the proprietors in town have been doing a wonderful job. We are here. We can help you in any situation. If there's conflict, please let us know. But I don't think at this point that we will be tolerating in any way, shape, or form any business in town telling people that they cannot wear masks or should not wear masks when they come in the store. That practice will end. So that's just to let everyone know what's coming there. We also need to consider the situation surrounding the guidelines, if you will, in regards to the mask ordinance. So I don't want to confuse you because I'm a little confused with all of the language that we've had. But Josue, are you able to put up that how someone may receive a citation?
They are up on the screen, Brian, so our viewers are able to follow along as you speak.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm just going to read these off and then I'm done, I promise. Step 1, upon witnessing individuals without a mask in the designated areas, And that means a legitimate call in from someone who will give us information and be able to assist us should it come to that. Officers will verbally engage with individuals with a kind reminder about wearing a mask and maintaining social distances of at least 6 feet. And please keep in mind, this is not applicable for those covered by medical and other exemptions. Notify the officer if you are covered by an exemption listed in the Village of Yellow Spring Ordinance, and that's 660.16C. Step 2, officers witness the same individual or individuals continue to refrain from complying with the mask ordinance and the kind reminder. It's not wearing a mask or social distancing. Then we go to step 3, and that could either be a written warning or a citation for subsequent infractions under Village Ordinance 660.16, pandemic precautions. And those will be put onto the Yellow Springs website, most likely tomorrow. So again, look for vehicles or lock your vehicles when they're unattended. Keep a lookout for your neighbors. Keep your porch lights on, and call the police department should you have any questions about any of the protocols or the things that we're doing. And we can always use good suggestions and advice from everyone as well. We have to work through this together, and we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks, everyone. Back to you, Josue.
Thank you so much, Chief. And before we go to Council President Brian Hausch, I want to recognize Florence for all the great work that she's doing. As you know, she was instrumental in getting us $20,000 for utility payments, and she has already been reaching out to eligible residents for utility assistance and a few of the other programs. So Florence, thank you for all that you've been doing and that you will continue to do. And please jump in if you have any updates. I know you've got so much going on that our residents can benefit from hearing.
Well, thank you, Josue. We have managed to spend about $10,000 of that $20,000 on rental assistance, and we are around $4,000 of the utility money just in 2 days. So if you are in need of utility assistance or rental assistance, please contact me at the village, or you may come down to the utility department and pick up an application, and then we can assist you. There's also money available under the Community Action Project, which is the CAP program. You go to Miami Valley CAP, and there is an emergency form online that you can fill out, and it's submitted online. You do have to provide some identifying papers, but it tells you right online what you need to do, and you can do that also. And the other thing I'd like to say is I'm happy to announce that today I got a call from the Community Foundation, and they are giving us some funds to provide some sleeping bags for those that are in a community that are here homeless, and to provide some egg timers in the learning center for each child to have one at the desk, because they're all on different schedules, and a digital clock. We didn't realize some of the younger kids can't read time on a clock yet. So they're providing a digital clock, and I just wanted to say thank you to the Community Foundation. They have stepped up every time we've asked for something in need, and that speaks volumes of our community. So thank those who donate to the Community Foundation, and thank those board members of the Community Foundation who continue to help us. Back to you, Josue.
Thank you, Florin, and thank you for the Community Foundation for being such a wonderful partner, and the citizens. You are the ones who make all of this happen. Before moving on, I want to address the sentiment I heard recently that a resident felt ashamed to ask for help, that there are these resources available and they need the help, but they weren't sure if they were the most neediest, and they didn't want to take up spot for somebody else. And what I want to say to those that are feeling this way, this is your government working for you. there's nothing to be ashamed of if you find yourself in a financially insecure position. This is a pandemic, something that none of us who are alive now have ever experienced or thought that we were experienced or thought that we could plan for. So if you need assistance, don't be ashamed to ask. We are here to help. We make the resources available as we can, and if they're available, they're there for you. So don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you. All right, now we'll hear from Council President Brian Hausch.
All right, thanks, Josue. Can you give me sharing privileges, please?
Sure.
All right. So I'm hoping to first share something.
There you go. You should have
Happy
capabilities.
All right, I think I do. All right, and here it is. All right. Hey, so first of all, I just wanted to, I love thanking our village team for continuing to think about all the other aspects of community that are important. So if you guys have not seen this yet, we have a 16-foot lightable, inflatable jack-o'-lantern right at the Bryan Center. So that is a real picture. It is really fun, great for photo ops. We may end up hiding some Halloween candy around there on a regular basis. And I'll just say that, this jack-o'-lantern you'll follow on Halloween night up to the new fire station where it will be during the great trick or treat. And I love hearing Colin say that basically you can get as much candy as you want. So I'm sure that's part of his intention. So there's going to be plenty of trick or treat festivity on that level. So wanted to show that in case you hadn't seen it yet. Thanks again to the village crew for getting it out there. And then I wanted to share one other piece. All right, I'm going to need to find that. So I think as I think about this other document I want to share, I just want to highlight a few things that are going to sharpen the pencil a little bit. Josue and Chief Carlson have been amazing about, thinking about how we deliver on our village values when we actually have to enforce things. And, we're dealing with some challenges. And I want to say, first of all, I'm only one council member, but I think in general that council is driving the idea that we need to keep our community safe. And I really appreciate the comments from Chief Carlson about how we do this in a balanced way. But there are a couple things that I want to highlight about what you'll be seeing in the next couple days. The first of those is an informational piece about what the actual state of the law is. And so, if we start from the state law, it's pretty straightforward. You need to distance. If you can't distance, you wear a mask. And if you are in an establishment that's serving food or drink, you can take that mask off when you're consuming. Otherwise, you need to have it on. One of the things that we're hearing is that employees in our own town, frontline workers, feel that they cannot tell patrons that they need to wear a mask when they approach them. I'm hearing that some of this is information they're getting from their employers, and some of this is confusion about the law. But one of the things that we're putting together is a one-pager that highlights what the current laws are on the state, county, and local level related to COVID-19 safety protocols. And I think it's really important that everyone understand that not only are employees feeling unsafe, but we're also, dealing with just in general, our community members feeling insecure. So this is why we are trying to figure out, as we are at level 3 which is not a great place to be for a county of our size or dimensions. What we need to do to, I guess, make sure everyone's taking things seriously. We feel like most businesses are taking this seriously. Our citizens are taking this seriously. We've seen visitors also responding and understanding where Yellow Springs is coming from. But I will say, if we have a few businesses that continue to flout the law and are willful and wanton about community safety, that's going to be problematic. So the other image I wanted to share is one that is fairly familiar for folks that Amy Atkin talked about a lot with the Swiss cheese analogy. And so I think I'm able to share that. Here we go. So I understand that we have a lot of people that think this is all about their rights, even though they don't recognize the fact that our constitutional rights extend as far as when we affect other people's safety. The whole Swiss cheese model is everything we do helps to protect our community. Distancing is huge. And as Chief Carlson said, we're going to be more vigilant about making sure that that happens. Masks, also huge. We got to sanitize. And yeah, I'm not the biggest fan about rapid testing, given what we saw impact our community with one of our celebrities recently. But that being said, everything we do makes a difference for our community. The village is serious about this. We're not being reactionary about it. We're going to continue to plod along and figure out what we need to do. But at the end of the day, if we're not getting cooperation from everyone involved, our business owners, our citizens, our visitors, then we will have to step it up because ultimately the state has put enforcement responsibility on Yellow Springs. That being said, and I want to end with highlighting what Chief Carlson mentioned, we also understand that enforcement these days has a lot of negative implications. And so we're going to be wary of that and stick to our village values. And ultimately, I'm just going to send out the message to the community that you need to be serious, and the village is going to take whatever action we need to take to make sure that our community is safe. So with that, send it back to Josue, and happy Halloween.
Thank you so much, Brian. We have one more announcement to make. I have received news that our Greene County partners have dropped off beautiful pumpkins. And these pumpkins are available at the train station. So I'm gonna put up a picture of what they look like, and hopefully you're motivated to pick one of these up before they're all picked up. So there it is. Those are the pumpkins. They're right outside the train station waiting for you to pick one up. So there's a very few of them. So if you want one, you better get to it. So, all right, so that's the last of the announcements. We will now open up the town hall for questions. So we'll go to our social media channels. I believe there's a question that has already come in. Is that right, Philip? Okay, so. All right, there, let's see, what's that question? Chief, I think this one's for you, or maybe Brian, or maybe even me. All right, Minerva Baker. If we're going to do these steps, can we not make exceptions for the rich and or wealthy and or famous who are repeat offenders and put it on when asked, but take it off or have to be asked over and over again? I think I can speak for all of us here. We're not making any exceptions. It doesn't matter if you're poor, rich, wealthy, famous, or not. COVID does not discriminate. There are populations that are affected more than others, and that's due to the inequities in our society. But overall, it's not discriminating. So we're not making any exceptions. We are going to step up our enforcement across the board.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Josue, that we've called out the privilege that has been, highlighted during COVID. We've called out, individuals that have, flouted those laws, and we've seen where that's resulted. So I think that underscores that we're serious about, this is not about privilege. So.
Thank you, Brian. All right, Philip, any other questions? Okay, I see a statement of gratitude from Kate Hamilton. Thank you, Kate. All right. I think that's it for questions. So are there any parting words from the team? Okay.
Actually, so Philip, did we figure out that hashtag yet? So we want people to take photos with the jack-o'-lantern, and what's the hashtag, Philip? Come up with it on the spot.
Philip, you got a hashtag for the pumpkin?
Oh man, I think it's just the YS Halloween.
YS Halloween, okay, because I think hashtag orange thing is taken up already.
All right, hashtag YS Halloween.
Okay, hashtag YS Halloween.
So we want people to take pictures with the 16-foot jack-o'-lantern and hashtag YS Halloween, and that'll give the village and the chamber an opportunity to spread Halloween cheer.
All right. Excellent. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us another night, another virtual town hall. We'll see you here next week. Matt, thank you and have a good night. The property tax levy. This information is on our website and it's been posted on Facebook by some of the citizens. So I'm going to go through a quick presentation, and that video will be available as the content is also available on our website. Issue number 5, property tax levy renewal. This is on the ballot November 3rd. What is the property tax levy? Issue 5 is a 5-year property tax levy renewal. This is a renewal with no increase in taxes. The renewal levy is a fixed rate property tax levy for 8.4 mills and provides on average about $700,000. Once the rollback and other charges are adjusted and included in the revenues, this total revenue increases to about $835,000. This revenue goes directly to the general fund, and this is on an annual basis. The cost of the levy to taxpayers is $219.53 annually per $100,000 of appraised property value. That's about 7.9% of the total property tax bill. This number is down from $239 annually for every $100,000 of appraised property value back in 2016. And I want to remind the public that this will not increase taxes residents pay to the village. This is a fixed rate levy. So I'm going to provide a description. What is that fixed rate levy? Fixed rate levies are approved by voters and are the most common type of levy. Fixed rate levies can only generate additional income if new construction occurs. So if the value within a taxing district increases due to a reappraisal, such as the reappraisal that you recently have seen and you might have received your notices already, the tax rate is reduced so that it generates the same amount of money as it did in the prior year. This is done by creating an effective tax rate. So why is the village seeking a renewal? You may know that state funding was reduced by 80% in local government funds, and it eliminated estate taxes going back to 2008. Property taxes without the levy only provide an average of $220,000 per year. The general fund dollars support essential services which do not generate enough funding on their own, such as streets, parks, capital improvements, pool, the John Bryan Youth Center, and public safety services. Continued cost cutting and responsible budget management alone would not provide enough funding to support the necessary village services or investments in critical infrastructure projects that we continually make. What are the general fund revenues? The levy provides about 19.3% of the funding for village services through the general fund. That's about 7.9% of your property tax bill. The total property tax is 26% of the budget. That's 10.35% of your property tax bill. You may be wondering, where's this extra 2% come from? That's the inside millage. The inside millages are taxes that are not voted by citizens. That is municipalities are entitled to up to 10 mills for unvoted millage. We only get 2.4 of that. So that's the difference there. Here's a review of our general fund revenues. Income tax makes up about 1.8 million. Property taxes in 2019 were around 212,000. Levy proceeds, which is this levy that's on the ballot for November 3rd, provided around $700,000. And then there were other sources of revenues. This included kilowatt taxes, lodging tax, and a few other distributions or revenues that we get. There's a breakdown in the charts. All right, so what are the general fund expenses? Our total general fund expenses are $3.6 million, and this is how they break out. In community service and community outreach, we spent about $59,000. General government services is $698,542, and that includes the administration, council, the mayor's court. And miscellaneous, this is auditing expenses and expenses we have for rental property. Planning and zoning, we spend about $125,964. And here are largest expenses. Public safety, 1.4 million, and transfers out are 1.2 million. The transfers out are for essential government services that do not have a dedicated revenue stream. So funds are provided through the general fund, as in the form of transfers out. So where does that money go? As I mentioned earlier, they support essential services that do not generate enough money on their own. These are streets, parks, capital improvement, pool, the John Bryan Center, and public safety. And this is the breakdown of those transfers. To streets, we transfer $532,000, police pension fund, $85,000, parks and recreations, $500,000. Parks and recreation capital improvements, this in 2019 funded that bridge at Alice Pond, and in 2020 improvements of. Facility improvements, the economic development fund, and capital equipment fund. And that totals $1.2 million. And there's a graph to go with that. And that concludes my brief presentation on the levy. I'm available to answer any questions that I can. I am limited to provide only information, and I cannot take a position on the levy because of my former role with the government, but I'm available to answer any questions that I can. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us.